Hello guys, and welcome to the first ever live stream here on the Revise with Josh YouTube channel. Now, I focus quite a bit on Germany, dictatorship and democracy module that runs from 1890 to 1945. My first ever video on the channel was a key dates video for that module, so if you want to go back and have a look at that. But this is for the exam on Wednesday, 15th of May in the morning from 9:05 or whenever your exam begins. Some schools do 9, some do 9:05. It's all around the same time. So it's 2 hours. Okay, so it's paper one. So you'll have section A and section B. There's different, not different opportunities. There's different options. So the one that I do, and I've been teaching conflict and tension between East and West between 1945 and 1972. Now, this module is very similar to a few. So there's one that's called conflict and tension 1918 to 1939 and all the rest of it. So hold on, I will grab you my book and I'll tell you which ones the exam is tomorrow. So this is the book. It is the My Revision Notes book for History, AQA, GCSE, and it's made by Hoder Education. And basically, you do one, so the four things you do. So for paper one, section A will be a world history period studies. So the one that I teach is Germany, 1890 to 1945, democracy and dictatorship. But the one that your school might do is America, 1840 to 1895, expansion and consolidation, or America in 1920 to 1973, opportunity and inequality. And all of these different ones link, so they've got an overall thematic. So paper one, section A is world history period studies. They all link around the same zone. So America, 1840 to 1895, and Germany, 1890 to 1945, kind of link for the last 5 years and the first 5 years of the two modules. And then America, 1920 to 1973, links with the Cold War one. And then for paper one, section B, it's wider world depth studies. So you can either do conflict and tension, 1894 to 1918, conflict and tension, 1918 to 1939. The one that I'm going to do, conflict and tension between East and West, 1945 and 1972, which includes the next one, which is conflict and tension in Asia, 1950 to 1975, which is just Korean War and Vietnam War. But the one I'm doing also covers that. And then for paper two, section A, it's a thematic study. So it's either health and the people, C1000 to present day, or power and the people, C1170 to present day. And then you do a British depth study, so either Norman England or Elizabethan England. So the ones I'll be doing is conflict and tension between East and West and Germany, dictatorship and democracy for the first exam. And then paper two, I'll be doing Elizabethan England and health and the people. So yes, you can get this on Hoder Education. So yeah, paper one is Wednesday 15th and paper two is the 16th of June. Okay, let's start. I don't know how I can do this. Can I? Okay. So, background. So this is a little bit of context. Obviously, the module doesn't begin until 1945, but there's a few dates you need to be able to grasp up to that point. So on October 1917, it's the Bolshevik Revolution in Russia, which is led by Vladimir Lenin. And it leads to the Tsar's, overthrow. So Tsar Romanov obviously rules Russia, or the Russian Empire. And the Bolsheviks are like, no chance. In 1917 to 1922, as a result of the Bolshevik Revolution, it leads to the Russian Civil War, which lasts for 5 years, and it's between the Reds and the Whites. And the Whites are supported by the West. And some, general tension builders. In 1926, there's a general strike in the UK, and 1936 to 1939, it's appeasement. 1939, Nazi-Soviet pact is signed. It's a non-aggression pact signed between the Soviets of USSR and Nazi Germany. And in 1941, it's broken by the Nazis in Operation Barbarossa as Germany invades the USSR. And there's Tehran Conference, which is the capital of Iran, in 1943. So My face cam's going to get slightly light, so I am going to go top right because I don't think anything is in that corner. So edit, drag it up there. There we go. So we start off February 1945 with the Yalta Conference with the big three, UK, USA and USSR. For USA, it's President Franklin D. Roosevelt. For the UK, it's Winston Churchill. And for the USSR, it is Stalin. Of course, there's some things they agree on. So UN to be made the United Nations, Germany to be divided into 4 zones of occupation, one owned by USSR, one by USA, one by UK, and the 4th by France. And also Berlin to be the same. In July 1945, it ends in August though, is the Potsdam Conference, where UN is established and Germany is divided as said, and Poland will lose some territory to the USSR in the east. But the leaders change. Churchill is replaced with Clement Attlee, Roosevelt dies and he is replaced with Harry S. Truman, and Stalin remains. And on the 6th and 9th of August 1945, between the start and end of the Potsdam Conference, so it starts in July, but ends in August, Harry S. Truman goes behind the back of Stalin and Attlee and bombs Hiroshima and Nagasaki in Japan with atomic bombs, the first of its kind, thus starting the arms race between USA and USSR, a slightly breaking relations as well. And on the 22nd of February 1946, the long telegram is made by George F. Kennan, who is a member of the US Ambassadorial Service in Moscow. And it's an 8,000-word telegram which basically says that the USSR are planning to take over the world and spread communism. And he recommends that the USA should control communism and contain it. And on the 6th of March 1946, Winston Churchill travels to Fulton, Missouri, and he's actually welcomed by the president at the time, Harry S. Truman, to make a speech on the USSR. And he declares that they have brought down an iron curtain over Eastern Europe in their sphere of influence. And Stalin, as a result, compares Churchill to Hitler. And on the 12th of March 1947, Truman outlines his doctrine in a speech, not spec, don't know what it's a spec, in a speech to US Congress. And this is where the European Recovery Programme, or the Marshall Plan, is launched in June 1947, in which $17 billion of aid is made available, with $13.15 billion given out, including $9.2 billion to the United Kingdom. This is starting the policy of containment to try and keep communist countries communist and not letting it spread. But tension increases. And in March 1948, it's a London conference between UK and USA, and they come together and launch Bizonia, which is going to be the joining of their Berlin zones of occupation and their Germany zones of occupation. And now the Soviets get a little bit angry, and in April 1948, they make a mini blockade of Berlin, which is launched by them because there's another conference between UK, USA, and France to launch Trizonia, thus creating the FDR, which isn't made until a couple of years later, months later. But there's a new currency for both West Germany and West Berlin. And on the 24th of June 1948, Stalin does it for real this time. It's a Berlin blockade to break all road, water, travel. So they have to do airlift, the Berlin airlift, and it's Operation Vittles and Operation Planefare, with planes landing every 3 minutes a day in West Berlin, carrying about 4,000 tons a day. As a result, in 1949, Comecon is launched. And on April 1949, NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, dominated by USA, a collective security group, is formed. And on the 12th of May 1949, the Berlin blockade is lifted. And now, the zones have been joined for a while, but it's officially made on the 23rd of May 1949. The FDR, or the Federal Republic of Germany, West Germany, is formed with a new currency for both West Germany and West Berlin. Now the proxy wars begin. And on the 29th of August 1949, USSR finally tests that atomic bomb. USA made a prediction that it would take at least 7 years for USSR to catch up. But through espionage, USSR can catch up in just 4 years. And in October of the same year, East Germany is formed, or the German Democratic Republic, or DDR, is formed. Deutschland Demokratische Republik. And on the 1st of October 1949, containment fails as the People's Republic of China is declared by Mao Zedong. It's a failure of containment, as the USA support Chiang Kai-shek, who flees to Taiwan. And in February 1950, the Treaty of Friendship is signed between the USSR and the People's Republic of China. At this stage, the PRC is communist, which poses a threat for the USA. And on the 25th of June 1950, with support from USSR in the north, North Korea invades South Korea, thus beginning the Korean War. And in November 1952, while all the Korean War's going on, if you want to see a video on the Korean War, I will put one in the chat in a couple of moments' time. USA test a hydrogen bomb, which continues the arms race. But USSR are right behind them 1 year later in 1953, replicating, doing the exact same thing. And in July 1954, France withdraw from Vietnam War. And now it's peaceful coexistence in the space race. So in 1955, after West Germany's, they joined NATO, Warsaw Pact was founded. It's another group just like NATO. It's a collective security group, but it's dominated by the USSR. And on the 25th of February 1956, after Stalin's death, Khrushchev makes his de-Stalinization speech. It was meant to be public, but it was broadcast over radios in Europe for like 24 hours straight. On the 23rd of October 1956, student protests begin in Hungary, which sparks the Hungarian uprising. And a bit more on the space race, on the 4th of October 1957, USSR go 1-0 up as Sputnik is launched. And on the 3rd of November 1957, Laika is sent to space, who's the first dog. In 18th of December 1958, USA launched the first communication satellite, which catches up with USSR in the space race. But here is where it gets mental. 1st of January 1959, Castro overthrows Batista in Cuba. Batista was corrupt leader and he was capitalist, and USA owned most businesses. Castro was communist, and they actually made an alliance with the USSR, which meant USA launched a trade embargo as key industries were nationalized. And on the 1st of May 1960, it's the U-2 spy plane crisis. This is your germ theory date. That's your medicine one. This is your germ theory style date. This is your for Germany. This is your Hitler becoming chancellor, 30th of January 1934 date. On the 1st of May 1960, Gary Powers is shot down over Sverdlovsk in the USSR. Now, USA deny that it was a spy plane and called it a weather plane, and they lie about it, deny and lie. And once USSR find further investigation, they find a suicide pill, a camera, pictures, all the rest of it. USA refused to apologize. And as a result, Khrushchev stormed out of the Paris Peace Conference, which would have led, in the long term, to the removal of nuclear missiles from the superpowers UK, USA, and USSR. In December 1960, Viet Cong is established. And a few dates here. 17th of April 1961, it's the failed Bay of Pigs invasion. We go back to the space race for a little bit. On the 12th of August 1961, Yuri Gagarin is sent to space. And in the same evening, constructions for the Berlin Wall begin. And on the 13th of August 1961, West and East Berlin citizens wake up to a massive wall. On the west side, citizens can go stand next to the wall. It was initially a 2.5 meter barbed wire fence, and then it became a massive structure with watchtowers and guards and fences and all the rest of it. And on the east side, you couldn't even get within 5 meters of it. On 30th of October 1961, USSR detonate the most powerful bomb ever, known as Tsar Bomber. That's Tsar-B-O-M-B-A. Now here we go. It's the end of Khrushchev and the beginning of Brezhnev. On the 14th to 27th of October 1962, it's the Cuban Missile Crisis. Now this is the big, impact. So USSR put intercontinental ballistic missiles, or ICBM, of Cuba, which now means that Florida, which is only like 35 miles away from Cuba, could now be attacked by USSR, as they have bases in, of ICBMs on Cuba. Now, this is sparked after USA say out loud that they have some in Turkey and Italy, pointing on the USSR. Now, the USA removed them quietly, but USA removed theirs after a kind of like a conversation. But they removed theirs through the UN. Okay? So it's louder. And we're back to the space race again, and on the 16th of June 1963, Valentina Tereshkova is the first woman in space. On the 2nd and 4th of August 1964, we have the Gulf of Tonkin incident. And on January 1968 is the Prague Spring. 20th of August 1968, Warsaw Pact troops invade Czechoslovakia after they plan to leave the Warsaw Pact. And in November 1968, Brezhnev Doctrine is launched, which basically states once you become a communist, you must stay a communist, keeping all communist countries communist. On the 20th of July 1969, Neil Armstrong is the first man on the moon, which ends the space race for good, some say. And on May 1972, it is SALT 1 talks. SALT 1. So this was in May 1972. SALT 1 was the Strategic Arms Limitation talks. So the Strategic Arms Limitations talk. Okay? Which basically meant that no ballistic missiles could be tested underwater, on ground, in the air, or underground, only in bunkers that were specially made for that sort of thing. So I believe that's all the dates I have. Yes. That's all the dates I have. But I am going to open up a new thing. Hang on, present slides. So we'll do some essay practice. So this is question 1 to 3. Let me just open it here. Right. Okay. Question 1, it's opinion of the source. So the question would be along the lines of source B is criticized in the USSR. How do you know? Wait. There's lines on my camera. Okay. Anyway, how do you know? And then explain your answer using source A and your contextual knowledge. So this is worth 4 marks. Okay. Second question is, how useful are these two sources to a historian studying American attitudes towards the space race at the beginning of the 1960s? And that you need to explain your answer using sources D and C and your contextual knowledge, worth 12 marks. And then question 3, it's a write an account question. It's write an account of how events in Asia between 1949 and 1960. So that's the end of the live stream. Thank you very much for watching. I will be back again tomorrow for last minute tips of revision, which you can do morning of, the same evening, whatever you want to do. And it is going to help, hopefully, with that sort of thing. So that will just be a regular video that I will record during the day. All right. See you in a bit. Bye-bye. Bye, guys.